Welcome to The Writer's Dream. This is a show where authors can talk about how they write their books, how they publish their books, and how they market their books. You can find us here at ltveh.org. Just look for videos and you can see our show. I am also on Facebook. The name of the page is The Writer's Dream. We are also on Cablevision, Long Island Cablevision, Channel 20, Fridays at 3 p.m. You can find us on YouTube. If you are interested in how books are made, how authors work, and also in some very interesting local authors, please look at the YouTube page. There are over 100 interviews. And if you're a budding writer, there's a lot of advice there. If you're looking for good books, there's a lot of good books there as well. So without further ado, let's introduce our guest today, who is Michele C. Hollow. And she is the author of Jurassic Girl, The Adventures of Mary Anning, the First Female Fossil Hunter. And this is a subject that I know many, many, many people are so interested in. Every time I turn on the TV, there's a commercial for the new Jurassic Park thing. So we love our dinosaurs. Okay, so I'm going to read Michele's autobiography because I think it really does give us some information that's going to be helpful in understanding how she wrote the book. And it's also one of the most interesting biographies that I've read. Michele C. Hollow is an award-winning journalist, author, and animal lover. As a journalist, she focuses on health, mental health, aging, that's me, climate, pets, wildlife, and people who do extraordinary things. Her byline appears in the New York Times, The Guardian, Next Adventure, Inside Your Cat's Mind, Inside Your Dog's Mind, The Animal Mind, The Wildest Symphony magazine, and other online and print publications. Her favorite parts of being a journalist are researching events, interviewing people, and understanding the whys of how things work. She co-wrote a few Minecraft joke books with her son. She also wrote a book on the Grateful Dead and one about careers you can have with animals. Find Michele online at michellechollow.com and follow her on Facebook. That's great, Michele. So I love science, and it's important to bring the joy of scientific discovery to kids who are already interested in it. And I spent, just my biographies, I've spent 50 years teaching science to grades 5 through graduate school. So here we are. Okay, so tell us about how your career in journalism really inspires a book like this.
When I was a kid, I knew what I wanted to be. When I grew up, I wanted to be either a journalist or a veterinarian. I had to work with animals. I was very lucky. My mom enrolled me I grew up in the Bronx in New York, and my mom enrolled me in a zoology program when I was 12 at the Bronx Zoo. So I get up early on Saturday mornings and listen to zoologists. I was the only kid in the room, and they would talk about animals, and I was in heaven. This is just what I love. And as a journalist, when you have an idea for a story, you start with, okay, here's the idea. Now, how do I work this out? What are the steps? And the first step is research, finding out everything you can about that person or that event. I went to City University in New York many years ago, and I was very fortunate that I got to intern at the Time Life building in Manhattan in their research department. So it was meant calling people, is your name spelled right? I mean, from that simple task to finding out why and asking questions. Why are you doing this? Why did you do this? Why is this important to you? And I really love talking to people about what their passions are.
So your first assignments, when you first started in journalism, did you work for a specific paper? You worked for Time, the New York Times?
I was an intern. When I graduated from school, nobody would hire me because I had a few clips, but for local papers. I sent out just over 100 resumes, and I got a call to go to Louisiana, the southern part of Louisiana, and I emphasize that. I know Louisiana's in the south. I was in the bayou. If I went any further, I would be in the
The
bayou.
Gulf of Mexico.
Yes. Mhm. Exactly. I basically it was a daily newspaper, and I covered school events, local police beat. The only thing I'm not into sports. Football there is really big. I had to cover
Mhm.
football games, so I had to learn about that. It was just still what I enjoyed uh, writing about were the people that did things that I found of interest, the schools, or the city council. As I said, football was not my favorite topic, but I had to cover the games. So remember every year when they would when the games would start, like this was a big party for everybody. I celebrated at the last game because it was over. So I just,
Yeah,
and I should be bragging about that. I
yes, I
just,
have similar experiences. But okay,
okay.
so tell us about Mary Anning, first
Uh,
female fossil hunter.
yes, a few readers of mine had said, "Have you ever, you know, heard of her?" I had not. I was very interested when I started reading about her because at age 12, I'm 12 years old, she made this incredible discovery. She found this 17-foot fossil. She found it in two parts. First, there was the head and then the body. And it took a while. She grew up on the Jurassic Coast, a small town called Lyme Regis in the UK. This was all underwater at one point. After the asteroid, there were dinosaurs, there were sea creatures that roamed that whole area. And after the asteroid hit, and people started many, many, many years after that, when people moved there and were living there, she lived very close to the coast. Unfortunately, the poorer people lived closer to the ocean, which meant her house flooded a lot, like a whole lot. Sometimes they'd have to escape to the second floor. But she spent her days, every day, rain or shine, heat, like on a day like today, which is to me
Oh,
unbearable, out on the seaside collecting fossils. And she was self educated. Back then, you needed money to go to school. She went to Sunday school, and her pastor at the time believed that science and religion could coexist. So she was encouraged. She loved reading. I mean, whatever she could get her hands on, she read. I loved talking to people, and she was very, very knowledgeable. Her father started her as a fossil hunter. He was a cabinet maker who seemed to not like his job. He would have preferred to spend all of his time at the seaside hunting for fossils. And she actually helped support her family. They were very, very poor, as I said. They had ate a lot of porridge because it was cheap, and she was able to bring home money from the tourists who saw her digging at the beach. And you have to realize at the time what she wore. She had ankle length dresses, the boots, the bonnet. Uh, Part of the Ichthyosaurus, that was the 17-foot fossil that she found, was buried in the cliffs. Can you imagine climbing up that in a dress, in a long dress? It just boggles my mind. And
now
what happened?
this was in the 1800s, correct?
Yes, it was
Yeah,
1800 and she was 12 years old.
yeah,
Uh,
amazing.
it is, it is. And then unfortunately, women, well, even today, are not that well recognized in a lot of scientific.
No.
So back then, the head of the Geological Society was like, nope, she did not find this. This is impossible. She's a girl. She's poor. She's self-educated. It couldn't have been. And there were a few members of the Geological Society who came down and interviewed her and saw, wow, this is a very bright young woman. And this also, you have to realize at the time, extinction was a brand new concept. Uh,
Yes,
People again
the
believed
work
that,
of the devil.
well, also God would not have created something that died out. It just wouldn't have happened. So, and what is this? Imagine finding something that no one's seen before. A lot of
Mhm.
people thought it was a crocodile. It had a long
Snout.
snout. Yes. So did she, a lot of people thought that she made this up, and which is kind of impossible because she didn't have the tools to create something so crazy. So um, she persisted and she triumphed. She is today known as the mother of paleontology. And I think that inspires a lot of young girls. I've spoken to elementary school kids about the book. And at one school, I was really shocked. A bunch of girls came up to me at the end with their fists raised, and they're like, "Girl power, girl power!" It's like they
Yeah,
know, they
yeah.
really.
And there are a great many books written today about women who did wonderful things and were never famous or recognized in their time, but they're being recognized now. Well, let me ask you this question though. Why did you write this as a children's book rather than an adult book? Certainly it's a topic that would, fly as an adult book. Why children's?
I wanted 12-year-olds, or the book is for 7 to 12. I truly believe that I read a lot of children's books. I read picture books. I read adult books. I read fiction, nonfiction. There are a few areas that I don't read, but I mean, I'm not very big on romance. It's not my genre. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I believe that kids would relate because a lot of kids are told, no, you can't. You didn't do that. That's not true. And here's this example of this young woman who did something when she was told no. And she proved that, she was right. She did indeed discover this. And she went on to discover other fossils throughout her life. And she is today known as the mother of paleontology. They know her more in the UK. That's where she's from.
Mhm.
Last year, the UK came out with a Mary Anning postage stamp. There's the Lyme Regis Museum in the town of Lyme Regis where Mary grew up that has a Mary Anning wing. And there's even a statue of her with her dog Trey, who
Uh,
went out every day. Was her company? He kept her company.
well, how did she preserve the fossil? She found it and then how did she get it out? Because she'd have to prove to them that, she discovered this thing.
Well, even with the small little ammonites, her father, again, was a cabinet maker. He had a lot of sharp tools. And at age 5, he gave her a lot of these tools. I think he would, it sounds like from my research, I also read The Fossil Hunter by Shelley Emling. And it sounded like, and I also researched, I interviewed a lot of the researchers at the Lyme Regis Museum. I asked them if I could send them questions, and then I sent them lots and lots of questions.
Mhm.
I wanted to find out, I wanted to make sure that this is partly nonfiction. Everything, all the dialogue is created. That's fictionalized because I
Oh,
couldn't.
sure, of course.
So, but her father taught her the difference. I mean, I don't know if I would go. I'm watching right now, Walking with Dinosaurs, the PBS special.
Yes.
And I
Mhm.
mean, there are these huge parks. It's like, to look here and not there. And it's not like it's out in the open.
Exactly.
They're hidden. They know what to look for. And it is very interesting watching them on the Walking with Dinosaurs dig and gently scrape off the rock. Some of these fossils are hidden. It's nice if you pick up a rock and there's a part of the fossil that's sticking out. That's an easy clue. But he taught her. He also gave her his sharp tools. It sounded like he would have probably given them to her when she was younger, but her mom was like, no, absolutely not. The girl doesn't need a sharp knife. So she just knew what to look for, and she would, if she was good friends with an amateur fossil hunter named Elizabeth Philpott, who was older than
I've
her.
heard of her. Yeah,
And
I've heard of her.
And she had a nice library, and Mary would go and visit and read and read, and she got the Geological Society's newsletter, and she got to read that. Mary did not have her own subscription; it was too expensive.
Yeah.
Uh, as I said, money was very, very tight. So
So
the fact,
actually, it really was a lot of factors that came together that enabled her to know what she was looking at through her father and to understand the context of what she was finding because she read. Reading in the 1800s, from everything I've read, seems to be the deciding factor as to whether you're going to be successful at something or remain in a lower level of activity in whatever you choose to do. What do you think are the characteristics of Mary Anning that really inspired the kids to go, yay, girls, keep going?
but she wouldn't give up. In the
Yeah.
spite of, no, you didn't do this, you're lying, there's no way you could have done this. And she's like, yes, I really did. See, I found this. And there were witnesses too, because you don't go up a big uh,
Cliff.
cliff and find something. She had to have organized a party that of people that were going to help her unearth this. This was too big. I recently interviewed someone, a paleontologist, for an article at Next Avenue about it's like an AARP site. An article about grandparents taking their kids on fossil digs.
Mhm, mhm.
And I interviewed this paleontologist who was great. She's originally from New Jersey. She grew up like all other kids, loved dinosaurs, and studied them in school for a short period of time. Throughout junior high, high school, you don't really do dinosaurs is not part of the studies. So she went to this museum. There was one of those live animatronic dinosaur events, and
Mhm.
she was in high school, and she said, I have to be a paleontologist. Like, this was her, she felt like it was her calling. So she's working now in Montana, and she is a paleontologist, and she was telling me about her worst day on the job. She's like, I'm out in this huge, huge, huge park. I mean, it's enormous. And it starts to hail, and she's like, oh, dag nabbit, what am I going to do? She covers herself with a blue tarp, and she finds these dinosaur bones, and she's like, how am I going to get this out of here? I can't carry these. This is her worst day. Can you imagine finding something like that and that being your worst day? So she motivates the crew, and they help carry it out. But I thought that was so cool.
Yeah,
It did.
it is absolutely cool. So, what did you learn about Mary Anning that was surprising to you?
That she just wouldn't give up, that she found something that excited her, that made her, I want to know more. Yes, I don't have money to buy this or that. um, she was able to borrow books from her friend Elizabeth Philpott, and the Geological Society newsletter. She had a hunger for knowledge, and I think it's like, I can identify with this. If you're going to start talking to me about how the computer works, my mind is going to go somewhere else. I'm not too interested. It's just not my thing. But if you get into really detailed information about animals, insects, anything animal related, I am there. I am there. You got me 100%. So I think that's what she felt like with the fossils. That was something that she adored. This was a passion, and she was not going to let it go.
Just to overcome the obstacles for a woman in the 1800s, I find
Mhm.
is very exciting.
And the
Uh,
fact that made it worse was not only being a woman, she was a girl. She was 12 years
yeah,
old.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, and
yes, yeah.
this is, I know this is
Mm-hmm. Absolutely amazing. So, um, so you, so what do you do as far as marketing this book, getting this book to kids? What do you do?
that's the hard part.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I love, as I said, I love the research. I like finding out. I like interviewing people. I That part is it's the after the book comes out and it's like, okay, now what do I do? Um, I'm very lucky. I live pretty close to New York. I'm in South Orange, New Jersey. There's
Right?
a large readership here. People love books. We just got a brand new children's bookstore in my town that I can walk to, and I wound up buying a bunch of books this weekend. Um,
Mhm.
it's called the Chatterbox, and then it, the next town that I can also walk to, we have another bookstore that's been around for a long time. So I love to read, and I've contacted the bookstores. I've contacted they to carry the book. We have a community newspaper, and
Mhm.
they wrote a 3-page story about the book, which I
Great.
did. I mean, I was shocked when I saw that. It was great. They were very happy. They even had a little party at the publisher's house, and I was invited. Uh,
Excellent.
Yes, and it's reaching out. As a journalist, I get a lot of pitches from public relations marketing people. So I am in the know to a degree, but it's also like, okay, how do I find so and so to appear on their show? How do I do this?
Mhm.
Um, Publisher Ulysses Press has been somewhat helpful.
Mhm.
They connected me to you. Um, I am trying to find more, and there's just different. I look at different dates. They like um, May 21st. Yes, May 21st. In 1799, Mary was born. So I thought, oh, we got to do something for her birthday. So I contacted some publications and podcasts. Podcasters have been pretty open and covering this, and I focus a lot on books and kids
Mhm.
because I said again, kids love dinosaurs. I mean
Mhm.
that's a given.
Oh, you hit a great topic.
So
It's
uh,
wonderful when the thing that you really like and are interested in is popular as well. So, do you do school visits?
I just started doing schools in September when the book came out September 10th, and I've gone to a couple of schools. Some have been incredible. Like one of the PTAs are like, "Oh, do you want us to tell other PTAs about your book?" And I'm
There
like,
you
"Yes,
go. That's
please."
it. That's it. Because we have an organization here on Long Island. We do what's called Author Illustrator Nights, and the authors who want to do it, we contact schools, and we have a nighttime event with several authors, and the parents come with the kids and can talk to you about your books. But yeah, it's a lot of marketing is a lot of work. It's not the fun part for any author, I don't think. And I noticed your book is not on Amazon. How come?
Oh, it is on Amazon.
I couldn't find it.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
all
I
right.
tell everybody.
I'll
I
find it.
It's Jurassic Girl. If you, yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely on. I tell everybody, which I shouldn't be doing, but I tell them to please, if you can buy it at your local bookstore,
Hmm.
please support your local bookstore. If you don't have a local bookstore, go to bookshop.org. I
Hmm.
like them better than Amazon because part of the sale for the book, and it's not more money, of just like a dollar or so, goes to a local bookstore that is somewhat near, not someplace that you might be able to walk to.
No,
So
that's great.
really
Uh,
support that. Yes. But it's definitely on Amazon and
Have
good
you,
read.
is it an ebook?
Yes.
Is it an Audible?
No, it is not.
Okay.
That is
So that's one thing because audiobooks are really very popular. We only have a couple of minutes left.
okay.
So I would like to ask you if you have a next book in mind. If not, what's your advice? You can answer both of those questions or one or the other.
I do have a next book in mind. It's about a World War One service dog that was found on a base camp in Connecticut and was, excuse me, smuggled, excuse me, smuggled out of Connecticut on a board on a boat headed to France. And this dog saved the lives of his troop many, many times and was honored by 3 U.S. presidents. And it seems like it's a very exciting story. It's also written in the same manner as Jurassic Girl. It's historical fiction based on a true story, and again, the dialogue
Hey,
is
when you publish it, contact me. I'll have you on in the show again.
okay. And as far as advice, the best advice I can give is to be part of a writers group. I
Hmm.
had two incredible writer friends. We met online once a week, every Wednesday at a set time. We exchanged our manuscripts ahead of time via email. We we're all we've all been edited, so we all have thick skin. So we weren't going to hurt each other's feelings.
Yeah,
So it's like, "No, that's not
that's the
good."
best advice, the thick skin. Well, it
Yes,
was a pleasure to have you, and certainly the book sounds very interesting, and your career sounds very interesting, and I will look at dinosaurs very differently in the future. So thanks again for being on the show.
thank you, Linda. Thank you very, very much.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.